All right, welcome back. I'm a man of my word. I wanted to try this out, do like a daily double for the weekend and see if this is what I want to do. If not, I'm going to go back to just once. Whether it be Saturday or Sunday Stoicism, I'm fine with, but you'll know when the video drops. Now, we're going to get on this topic today. Last topic was about adversity. Now, this is a form of adversity, to be honest. Because you always get adversity. Any adversity is a challenge ultimately. So this is what we're going to talk about today, and it's going to be on the topic of desire. Now, if we desire or dread something, and the desire or dread arises from our thoughts about it, maybe the thoughts are right, but again, this is attuned to externals. Attachment to externals is a trap for you because externals are going to be out and about everywhere, you know. Um, but just like it, desire is definitely a big external, and um, and it adds to consumerism to today. You know, the PS5 that you so desperately want. You know, the girl that you desire over there, or the guy, someone that you could desire that are either in a relationship or that they're out of a relationship. It's out there, and it's on you to do the best you can to really um, uncover it and figure out what's the best thing to do next, following your moral compass. Now, Stoicism views most of our miseries are driven by the ways we relate to desires and fears about the future and to pleasures and pains in the present. So we're always worrying about tomorrow. We're always worrying about, the thing down the road on your path to where, yeah, you can have a thought or concern, but when you make it a worry, this is how you know it sits with you. To where it's just kind of like a stagnant thing. The shit's just fucking, plaguing you, really. And the pain in the present of, what you might think about, oh, that I don't have this, I don't have that. But how often do you kind of sit with it where you just think about the things that you do have, that you are fortunate for, that you are grateful to have that other people don't have? You know? Now, often the hard way by every generation of most individuals that we most desire that we do not or cannot have, that the pursuit of a thing is more pleasing than the possession of it. That possession of a good and familiarity with it tend to produce indifference or disgust. That we mismeasure the value of what we have or don't have by comparing it to our expectations or to the holdings of others. In some, we talk to ourselves about our desires in ways that are constantly misleading. So, to unpack this, you ever wanted something really bad that when you got it, whether it's, material or something higher than that you got it, and you're just kind of like, eh, like after the fact, any sort of material thing, any kind of controller or phone, like I need the new iPhone, whatever number here, and as soon as you get it, it's just kind of like, all right, you get it, and then what's next? The excitement behind the desire of what you haven't gotten yet is just kind of like it's gone as soon as you get it. So it's about like the chase, you know. Like let's say a dog chasing, dogs chase cars for whatever reason. I'm not an expert on that, but I've gotten to see one dog or a couple in my life like chase after cars that they stop at an intersection or at a stoplight, just like run off the leash of their owner, just bolt off, and then once they get to the car, it's just kind of like, all right. Because most of the time in the dog's mind, they're not thinking that they're going to get that far. Like they get to the car, it's like, I didn't really think I'd get here. I'm so wrapped up in the chase of it. And it sounds fucking fantastic on paper, on the chalkboard, on the whiteboard, the chase of it. But then once when you get it, it's like, eh, just that is meh. It's not as exciting once when you get what you desired, that what you really longed for. That once when you get it, it's just like, eh. It takes away from like actually having the thing, to where the appreciation of it kind of drops. I mean, depending on what it is, to some people, yeah, they can go out and, get their console or whatever they desire it so hard, but then the fact that they have it, I'm so thankful that I have it, and this and that, and they treat it like a big thing, and it never diminishes, But for others, like someone like myself, yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll get some sort of console or something that I thought I really wanted, but it's just kind of like, I just don't have the time for it. That I myself am busy with a bunch of stuff, and it's just not conducive to what I'm doing right now. I'm happy to have it, but the chase, the desire, I've just been sitting back. Oh man, the things I do, and once I get this, blah blah blah, and then when it finally happens, like just that. Now, or even with some people when they do get it, it's just kind of like, this isn't really what I wanted, and you you want to refund it or return it, but you just feel bad about it now. So it's more pleasing to have the chase than the possession of it. So it's like we go about it in our head, like how beautiful it can be, and then it just kind of like falls flat once we have it. Now, I'm not saying everybody does. There are some people that do. If you are one of them, this is where we're at on this topic. So, the insatiability of desires. Okay, the Stoics' first observation about desire is that getting what we want tends not to produce the satisfaction that we imagined. It makes us want more. New desires appear when other ones are spent. Our minds seem to have an appetite for desire itself, and for the illusion that fulfilling it will bring us to an endpoint, the end never arrives. So for people that are highly materialistic, and it's perfect out in the West because consumerism is at an all-time high, you get one thing, it's like, oh, I need to have this thing, this electronic, that it's like doesn't really do much to enhance your lifestyle. Maybe your social status, sure. You're the it person in front of your friends. I was like, oh yeah, I have this and you don't, and it's like, nah, it's kind of a shit way to look at it, because everyone thinks or believes that if they have this new flashy thing, that it's one thing where they get to have it, it's another thing where they get to flex it out to the public, to their friends, their peers, whatever. Say, yo, I got this. Oh, what? Buy? And all right, that only comes like, only happens for like the first day, maybe like the second day. But okay, what about the first week? What about the first month? The first year? It decreases. The value of it decreases over time. So but and then that adds to the whole. Okay, I have this iPhone 13. Then the iPhone 14 comes out 6 months later. I have to have it. It's like, your phone isn't even a fucking year old. What do you mean you have to have it? You have a phone, like that should be good enough. Especially like on the high end. Like 3 cameras and all this other fucking shit that you probably aren't even really gonna use to its full ability. If you do, I mean, props to you. You're getting the most out of the money that you put in. But there's some people out there, it's like, they want to have the phone just to do what with it? Okay, send text messages, or you'll do like 3 things or 5 things out of the 20 that's in the 20 of the features that are in there. Yeah, you access 5 to yourself. So Seneca, on this quote from Epistles, who was ever satisfied after attainment with that which loomed up large as he prayed for it? This is exactly what I was just talking about. This guy right here. Seneca, the younger, was practically a slave back in the day, just like a poor guy. Didn't have a pot to piss in. And spitting facts on human behavior, and it's not to say that he didn't have his fair share of things that came to him. No, he most likely did. But once when you take a really good look at it, it's just kind of like, when involved with materials on this topic, it's just kind of like, what is that really doing for me in the long run? Is the iPhone paying my bills? Is the iPhone putting money in my direct deposit? Like I said, it's good to have it. If you have the money to spend it and you're not really lacking on any other front, like rents, you're sooner going to pay your rent than the new phone. Or at least that's how I believe it should be. The things that are more important in this life that deserves attention should not fall flat over the the smaller things like these phones, consoles, or what have you, that isn't gonna help you live a better life. It might have you fit in a crowd that you might not even want to fit in with towards the end of it, where you're just like, no, these people really aren't for me. I was made to stand out from these people. Now, from Epictetus on Discourses, you will learn the truth by experience. The things that people value highly and try hardest to get do them no good once they have them. Those who don't have them imagine that once they do, everything good will be theirs. Then they do get them, and the heat of their desires is the same. Their agitation is the same. Their disgust with what they possess is the same. And their wish for what they don't have is the same. That's it. I don't feel complete with what I have. I got to get more. And then you get more. All right, it's not enough. I got to get more. And it's like, it's this, you spiral out. It's insanity. Which is why I try to tell people all the time, like, look, man, be good with what you got. Be grateful. Be thankful for what you got, because there are other people out there that don't even have the opportunity to get it, let alone to just get it. So when you look back on the things you have, and okay, maybe your friend, best friend, close friend, acquaintance, someone that has more than you on that avenue, it shouldn't ever be a takeaway of the stuff that you have for yourself. And if you are thinking that, you're only doing yourself a great disservice. You're fucking it up for yourself mentally, because then you get in this mindset where it's like, no, well, I have to have this that this person has to compete, to keep up. It's like, who's to say that you're not keeping up with what you got? That you aren't good enough with the stuff that you have? You can be the kind of person that can live a minimalist lifestyle, make a lot out of a little. There are people out there that do that. Never have it in your head that the things that you don't have, that is a want, not a need, that is a want, outweigh the needs. My old man used to tell me, your needs always come before your wants. Yeah, imagine telling a teenager that's like, fuck that. He don't know what he's talking about. Because you want it now. The desire kicks in. Like, I want this. And then when you get it, it's not as good as, the chase. Seneca again on Epistles. At last, then, away with all these treacherous goods, better when hoped for than when attained. If there were anything of substance in them, they would eventually bring satisfaction. As it is, they are a drink that makes you more thirsty. Don't even have to unpack that. I already did that. Now, the general theme of the Stoics, the illusion that fulfillment of a desire will bring us to a certain longing for state of mind, which never really arrives, has been taken up by many of their cousins and descendants. So again, it all comes back to like the same thing, that insatiability. You're just insatiable. Well, you get stuff, you automatically want more stuff, and you're never really comfortable with what it is that you have, when you should be. Take some time to sit down and reflect on the things that you do have. And yeah, okay, the things that you want that's over the horizon that you can get, that's one thing. But don't ever treat it like it's the end all be all for your life, like the cure that you need for something. Because a lot of people like to get into that shit where it's like a big dopamine rush. It's like, oh wow, I can't wait. Okay, Amazon, it's good. It's gonna be here in like the next couple of days. Then it lands on your, front porch, side porch, whatever. You pick it up, and it's brought down to half, man. It really fucking is. It's crazy. Now, we're going to go ahead and get to number 2, natural versus unnatural appetites. We have 2 kinds of appetites. Some are implanted by nature, such as hunger. Of course, they then recur. The satisfaction isn't permanent. We eat until we aren't hungry, and the same thing that was satisfying yesterday can be satisfying today. Other desires, such as the wish for status, are produced by social life or are created by stimulating the appetite for things we don't need. Desires of this artificial kind are never quite satisfied. This is from Farnsworth, which again, I just stated it before we even got here. When you try to when you try to claim certain desires, for the most part, it's for the status more than for yourself. Because yeah, you can get something for yourself, and other people will be like, "Oh, why did you get that?" It's like, nah, you don't know what you're talking about. I got my thing right here. This is what I want. But there's a lot of people out there that buy into all this shit just to try to fit in. That they think that this kind of material thing is gonna, get them to their in whatever clubs that they're trying to get into. Right? It's taken away from who you are as a person. You are not what you buy. It may show you the kind of person that you are, sure, depending on what have you. But ultimately, you are not what you buy. Like in a way where it takes away from you as a person. For me, yeah, I'm a big nerd. I'm a big geek. I'm into all sorts of awesome shit: video games, comics, this, that, and the third. And yet, I love buying guitar picks. Love getting watches. Love getting well, maybe not clothes, because that's more of a social. Well, not even a social thing, because I just like to look good. But there are certain things that I buy that's outside of my realm of what I like. I like to buy pots and pans because I like to cook. That's it. That's outside of everything else that I grew up on, which is just nerddom, I think they call it, or geekdom, fandom. Now, from Seneca on Epistles, the measure of what is necessary is what is useful, but what standard can limit the superfluous? It is for this reason that men sink themselves in pleasures, and then cannot do without them when once they have become accustomed to them, and it is for this reason they are most wretched, that they have reached such a pass that what was once superfluous to them has become indispensable. So to unpack that, it's the same thing that I've been talking about, what is this that I really want that's like it's just kind of fake. It's a fake meow. It ain't adding to my life as much as I think it is. Now, number 3, chasing versus having. Right? When we work toward a goal, we imagine the happiness that its attainment will bring, but the pursuit itself turns out to be more enjoyable than the capture of the thing pursued. Just started talking about this, and we're already on number 3. I was starting this from the beginning, but literally that. It's from any sort of chase. Like, okay, even if you want to talk about people, let's move away from materials. Just people. Good-looking girl, good-looking guy that you see, and you're so enamored just with how they look. You may not have talked to them, or you talk to them a little bit, but it's not enough to get a real reading on them. You're not going to be able to vet them properly. So you do a lot. Okay, maybe you put on some cologne or perfume, or that you dress differently to impress them, or stuff with your hair, your makeup. All of a sudden, you start to care about your appearance, and with that, once when you do all that, and there's they start to notice you. It's like, oh wow, this and this, da 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 da, and then you start getting into this talking stage, and over time. You start to realize it happens. Over time, you'll realize, man, this, I don't think this person's it. Because you hear them talk, and they might be on some goofy shit, and you're just thinking to yourself, I might have to back out of this one. But, it wasn't really the other person's fault. when it comes down to it, it is your own. Because again, when the desire hits and the chase is on, you're like, I'm going to get this person to notice me. I'm going to get this person to want me. And then it happens, and by that time, you're just kind of like, I'm having second thoughts about this, and I might pull out. Now, to the other person, yeah, it might be, well, you led me on this and that, but not a lot of people talk about that factoid or bring it up, where it's just, hey, in my head, you sounded a lot better, and I was faced with the reality of it, which isn't a takeaway from you. It's just I put you pretty high up on this pedestal just to kind of have it fall to the ground. And it's not a takeaway from you. It's just that's what goes on in the head. And if they're privy to it, if they're kind of hip to that, then they'd understand, and it open up their mind to something where it's like, I kind of do that shit too. And hopefully you can make a friend out of it. And but some of the times the ego kind of drives right through, and yeah, you're now vilified in their eyes. But that kind of thing happens. So it's on you to just kind of add to the vetting process for yourself as well as for the other person when you're trying to get a read on them, when you're trying to get a gauge on them. Asking different questions, see how they act. In different settings, out in the real world or in the workspace or behind closed doors, and you'll get to see all manner of masks that they put on. In which case, I think it's in Japan, they say that you have like 3 masks that you put on. There's one at home, there's one at work, and there's one like in the open space, or maybe at work it's in the open space, and there's one that you just have for yourself. Different personas. Now, on 4, disgust with possession. Having a thing to bring about indifference or contempt towards it. It's a related but distinct Stoic law of desire, right? Is having a thing tends to bring about indifference or contempt towards it. Sometimes this is because finally possessing what one wanted allows its unimportance to be exposed. So Schopenhauer, this guy is pretty fucking good. His book on the vanity of existence. To obtain something we have desired is to find out that it is worthless. We're always living in expectation of better things, while at the same time, we often repent and long for things that belong to the past. So, for some, where they desire over some sort of material thing, or some person, and they get it, and they're just kind of like, meh, and then they'll think back on like, wow, I really hyped this thing up to the point where you couldn't talk me out of it. And I couldn't talk me out of it. And I got to the point where it's just kind of like, you just let out this big sigh, like, fuck. It just wasn't worth it in the end. And to all the money that you put out, you kind of think to yourself, it could have been put towards something better. Or to the other person, like, oh, maybe I could have put more attention to that other person that was so into me that I'm just kind of like, like, away with you. You're just going about it the wrong way, which happens a lot. People go after other people that they believe they cannot get, or they believe like, oh, this person's better than me, or they're really high up here because I put them there. And then they don't pay a second mind, or even a first initial mind, to the one person that's out to really try to be with them or get with them. And to that other person, yeah, they could be held at fault because excitement took over and they weren't really thinking about it. Where it's just like, oh, like I'm really trying, and it can be viewed. You're not hiding in plain sight. When you're really trying, it shows. That you're now like jumping outside of the realm of being yourself. You're really just trying to be someone that you aren't, to get with someone that probably ain't even really fucking good for you. To where you look at the other person that's really trying to get with you, this and that, and perhaps they could be good for you, But how would you know if you quickly just turn them away like, ugh, you just get the ick? Nah, it's too much. Get out. Because sometimes those people are coming from a good place. It's like a cycle. For you to go after the person that ain't good for you, you're gonna try really hard, and if you do get them, they ain't worth shit. They're probably worse than what you thought it was. And then when you look back at the other person, when they're really, that they're really trying for you now, but it's coming from a different place, because oftentimes people try really hard when they should be they should be themselves, 100% unapologetically themselves, and see who and what you attract. Don't try to jump outside of your pool, just to get into deeper waters where you can't swim. No lifeguard when you need one, no floaties. You just drown in it. It's not good. But but for you to be yourself, to not really try for the other person, like, and that's the difference, that you're being yourself, someone that they could look opposite of what you're probably attracted to, and this is normally the case, that that they try to put their best foot forward and beat their shyness and anxiety and come and talk to you, and for the people that come to you, give them a shot. For the people that that don't, where they're just in their own little world, and you get to really put them high on the pedestal, you can go ahead and go after them, but just be wary about it. Vet them to see where they stand, because more often times than not, we're going after just the looks. And they say looks aren't everything, which is true. Looks aren't everything, but it's the first thing. That's the thing that you pay attention to the most, whether it's, guy looks good, smells good, or girl looks good, smells good. It's, you're operating off of, the sight itself, where everything can look beautiful. But what's beyond the skin? You really got to ask yourself that. What's inside this good-looking girl, a good-looking boy, or guy, woman, however it suits you? What's behind the physicality of it? Is it a good person? Is it a shitty person? Is it half and half, where you know how to deal with the shitty parts, and so that you can really enjoy the good parts, so long as it's not like pulling you in the quicksand? You gotta ask yourself that. Anything loses its power to satisfy once it is possessed, not just because we see it more realistically, but because possession itself changes how we feel about it. As I had stated before, as I said before, Seneca on epistles say, we value nothing more highly than a benefit when we are seeking it, and nothing less highly once we obtain it. Same shit I've been talking about. These people have their own spin on things, because the language was different back in the day, but it all still rings true. The human behavior is a pattern, and it will continue to become a pattern. You might have some people that break away from it, and if you do, congratulations. You're one of the many that were born to stand out, to stand up for yourself, not to fit in where you feel like you can't stand up for yourself. You know what I mean? Now, we're going to go ahead and get to number 5, envy. Attainment of our desires fail to satisfy, in part because we measure our satisfaction with what we have by comparing it to what others have. Stated this briefly before, but to unpack it again, you get what you want, but then you see someone else get something twice as big, or twice as many, twice as much, and then you just kind of look at your show as man, my shit sucks. What? How am I gonna compete with that? I get this. I get this this 3DS, and this guy's getting a gaming PC, or I'm getting a 2015 Nissan Altima, and this person's rolling out in a Tesla or a Bugatti or some craziness like that. So where now the enviness sets in, Enviness. Wow. The envious feeling sets in, and you're immediately not giving yourself the credit that you deserve for the stuff that you worked really hard to get. You know, and this is a problem that happens with a lot of people, where it's just like they always. I understand that you want to get to the top, you want to shoot for the stars, get to the moon. You absolutely can, but don't feel uncomfortable with the fact that, for the most part, we're all average. There's nothing wrong with being average. Once when you come to terms and you understand and you accept that for what it is, you get to live better by understanding that being average is okay. It's perfectly fine, because you're not lesser than, you're just average. For the people that look at these social media influencers, these models, all this other stuff. Okay, they just have more money and better opportunities than you, but that doesn't make them better than you. Just because you weren't met with the same shit, but you can be in that time, you know. And all it is, when you say that, oh, they're so lucky to have that. No, all luck is like your hard work being put out there with the random stroke of opportunity that comes in. Where okay, you can go ahead and be a music artist, or be a just artist. To start drawing shit, and don't ever stop. Keep it going. Someone's gonna notice on a higher plane. It's gonna look at you and be like, "Oh shit!" No, let me talk to you about this record dealer. Let me talk to you about this deal. I want you to start drawing panels for my comics or something, or I want you to start commissioning my work for this project that I'm doing. And there you go. You just got the same thing that these other people have gotten over time. It wasn't your time. But until it is, keep up with the hard work. Be righteous in your shit. Be proud of what you're doing. People take notice of that. And you can tell, because there's going to be a lot of people that try to like gaslight you and sling shit at you. Oh, why bother doing this? Oh, what's the use in doing that? And they try to bring you down, but they'll never bring it up. But that's their envy for you. It's just, envy can easily be twisted into jealousy. That's the trick of it. And for that, you don't ever want it to get that far, because what is it that you truly have to be jealous about for someone else that they have that you can't get for yourself? And for people to constantly compare themselves to celebrities, stop. Simply that, just stop. You're not doing yourself a disservice. Sorry, you're not doing yourself a service. You're doing yourself a disservice. So, for anyone that's thinking, oh, I'm a 10, and this and that, I'm a 10. And it's like, well, a lot of people would say Henry Cavill's a 10. A lot of people would say Rihanna's a 10. But what really makes them the 10? People would say, oh, the natural beauty, this and that. It's like, man, I got to tell you, the natural beauty that you're like thinking of, yeah, it might have gotten them there in the beginning. Look at how they started, how they looked in the beginning. No different than you. There was just the money becoming a huge amplifier to how they look now. Getting into better gyms, getting with better coaches at the gym, getting into better fashion. It all comes from having a lot of capital, a lot of money. But that doesn't mean that you're not able to get the same thing. So if you're putting yourself down because of that shit, oh, I can't compare with it. Don't compare. Just be better. Just be better for yourself. Because a man or a woman that truly lives within her own means and makes the most out of it would be better than that of a celebrity, in my eyes. Because you actually, you're doing the same thing for them, but you're not getting the same kind of fame and notoriety or something like that. But honestly, if you get that fulfillment within your purpose, you don't even need all that shit. It must be nice to have. It can be nice to have, and it most likely will be. But you can't put a price on fulfillment of purpose. You really can't. You really can't. It's like this feeling, this enlightenment that just it lifts you up every day, where you just feel so damn good about yourself. Where you're able to, whatever your purpose is, where you're a mechanic, or you work with furniture, or you work with art or music, or just any kind of skill that you can, get accustomed to and then master down the line. And most importantly is that you feel good about it. You feel fulfilled, like more so than what you would get if you were to just buy something. That's fake fulfillment. But and fake fulfillment comes at a price. But real fulfillment, not so much. Now, from Seneca, from his book on anger, that man will never be happy whom the sight of a happier man will torment. what we've just been talking about. Epictetus on Discourses. Why should one person envy another? Why be awed by the rich or the powerful, especially those who are strong and quick to anger? For what will they do to us? What they can do, we don't care about. What we care about, they cannot do. Think about that for a minute. Even though I was just, saying a bunch of shit, but it all resonates with what these old dudes were just talking about back in their time. And the same thing happens in modern times still. For, person to person, a person to celebrity, or person to whatever, person to Congress, whatever have you. Why feel so envious when you can get the same exact thing? Albeit in a different way, because your journey is going to be different than the other person's. So why even bother, sitting with that? It ain't a good look for you. Now, envy doesn't just make us less satisfied. It makes us desire things that we otherwise wouldn't want at all. For the people that want all the fame and, fortune and stuff like that. Now, when it comes to fame, that's one thing. Because you would see it all the time, paparazzi are, taking all these pictures, harassing these celebrities. They can't walk to a restaurant without getting mawed down by a mob of cameras. Think they want to deal with that? Absolutely not. That's why you get to see some people. What was it? Bad Bunny takes some girl's phone and just, yeah, see you later. That's it. they don't want all that shit so close to them. From a distance, yeah, all right, it's gonna happen. But just let them live. And you may think otherwise because you're not there. But when you're there, it's a different story. When it comes to the fortune, yeah, everyone wants to have money. And for the people that are thinking, oh, they must not be happy with all that money. No, these people are happy with all that money. It's just the fact of the matter is how you handle that much money. Because anyone could be a millionaire overnight and blow all that shit away. Guess what? Now you're in the worst kind of debt of your life because you tried to live outside your means without a proper plan for the millions that you got, or what is it, 500,000, if around there. You weren't coming through with the plan, so you just thought, oh, I'm gonna buy this, I'm gonna buy that, this, that, and nah. It's a big scam for a lot of people because they don't know how to deal with it once when they have it. Which I get it on one side of the coin, but this is where having a sense of value comes in. Where your $5 could always be 50 depending on how you look at it. The small things that you have that may not mean much to someone that you're comparing them to, which don't, would mean a lot to you when you garner true appreciation for that. Johnson is he's another philosopher. I think within the 1800s. I might be 1700s. And this is his book on the adventurer. This is a quote or an excerpt. Many of our miseries are merely comparative. We are often made unhappy not by the presence of any real evil, but by the absence of some fictitious good, of something which is not required by any real want of nature, which has not in itself any power of gratification, and which neither reason nor fancy would have prompted us to wish, did we not see it in the possession of others. It's what I've been saying, that when the desire leads to envy, and you'd be tap dancing on the line, being a habitual line stepper between envy and jealousy. You're in an unhappy place because you're thinking that the stuff that you don't have yet that you really want would make you happier when it's a material thing. And it's not the case. It really isn't the case. I'm telling you. And you don't even have to take my word for it. Go out there and live it. Or if you can think back on the time when that shit happened, then this ain't all bullshit. You know? Now, with Schopenhauer, from his book Our Relation to Ourselves, envy is at once a vice and a source of misery. We should treat it as the enemy of our happiness and stifle it like an evil thought. Because again, it's to have that envy puts you in a bad place, man. Puts you in a dark place, and a lot of people would do some crazy shit. Now, there was a movie that I'm thinking of really relates to that. American Psycho, right? Now, for those watching, like if you ain't of age, talk to your parents or whatever. But if you are of age, go watch that, and you get to see it in real time. That this guy, born. Let me say this: born into money. Okay, so he never really had to work hard to earn anything. He's just given everything. So the value of shit just boop, plummets into a hole. But even then, he's comparing himself to everyone else that are in the same pool, didn't earn anything, just was given. Okay, that he's envious of the other stuff that these people have, and you get to see the camera shots that he's like, oh yeah, I got this business card, and his friend pulls out another one, like, oh well, check this out, and he's thinking, he's narrating in his head, oh my god, like look at the font, and it's red, and it looks really good, and he's sweating bullets real time in front of his friend, just like analyzing this card, and it's really stupid, but it's that shit happens in real life. Even to the people with the most money, they're constantly like trying to get to the next best thing. They're like fucking megalomaniacs. It's crazy. It's a really funny scene too. But even that, like he goes off the deep end, and not to spoil the whole movie, but it gets pretty wild. Now, 6, desires and opinions. Attachments to externals are, in general, breeding grounds for envy and other vices. The principle of what we talked about in judgment treats the mind and its opinions as responsible for what we want. It follows that any desire can be satisfied or addressed anyway in 2 ways. One can go after the object of desire, or one can get to work on the other half of the problem, the opinion that produces it. So, but more so along the lines of what I was talking about. But to unpack it, it follows that any desire can be satisfied or addressed anyway in 2 ways. You can go after that object, or you can work on the other half of the problem, the opinion that produces it. So it's like when you really think about how badly you want something, and you add it to your lifestyle, then you'd be wanting it a whole lot less. Good example for me. What is it? At the time, these people wanted like this Steam Deck. It's like this big old Game Boy kind of thing, and I wanted it. I put a reservation down, and I got it. And by the time that I got it, it's just I never asked myself that I wanted it that much to where I'd use it a lot. In my head, I was already thinking like, oh, I might not even have time for it. And I should have listened to myself, because I would have saved over $500. I would have put that into something better, something different. But I wanted it so bad. Now I have it, and guess what? Glorified paperweight. Yeah, I have it. I might have some hours on it when I want to just kind of sit back and relax. But if I'm already being, productive, if I'm living a productive life, then I'm just kind of like, what's the point? I could be doing something a lot better than just kind of like sitting here with this. From Epictetus on Discourses, freedom is not attained by satisfying desires, but by removing them. And it's true. Remove the desire from the person that you want. Remove the desire from the items that you want. Is it really that important to have? Is it a need rather than a want? Will it upgrade your life better than you thought it would, rather than keep you in the same place? Seneca from his book Epistles: no one can have whatever he wants. What he can do is not want what he doesn't have, and cheerfully enjoy what comes his way. It's very true. Whatever comes your way, as an opportunity, whether it's something material or something, more so than that, if it comes and it's good, keep it. But it all comes from you working on yourself, providing the hard work for yourself and having that show out into the world. All of a sudden, you're becoming a magnet. All of a sudden, your manifestations that you're thinking so hard about come to you in one form or another. And it may be like the biggest thing, like in like bright shining lights, or it could be something so subtle that it could be right under your nose until you think about it, you're like, yo, and 7, useful comparisons to other people. Dealing with desires by dropping them, as just shown, is the first line of Stoic response, and perhaps all that is needed on a purist view. One might suppose that all comparisons to others ought to be held strictly irrelevant, that to reduce unhappiness by looking at others who are unhappier makes no more sense than reducing happiness by looking at others who are happier still. A comparison may be recommended just because it helps free us from tendencies of the mind that have already been diagnosed as unwanted. So, I often say to not live a life of comparisons because it's so easy to put you down. But for some, you can use the comparison to where it's like, oh, all right, well, so-and-so has a Tesla and I'm driving like a Ford or something. But I can flip it because it's like, oh, well, and having that mindset. Well, just because he has a Tesla doesn't mean that I can't get one. If I made like this roadmap, this plan to go ahead and get one, if I really wanted one that badly, to where it's a borderline necessity, I would put a plan in place, like a roadmap, figure this shit out, and all of a sudden, I am exactly who I compared myself to. In which case, if I was able to do that, then that person isn't better than me for having something, that costs more money or that looks more flashy. No way. It's not when I'm able to get it. Okay. And if I put in the hard work to do it, if I really wanted to, okay, now I'm switching jobs. Okay, now I'm like on a much more rigorous schedule, a much more disciplined schedule. I myself am much more disciplined, and I'm on this road just for this. And then I'm able to get it over time. It's like I wake up, I see the poster on the wall, Tesla. Okay, that's the first thing I see in the morning. Don't give up. Keep on going. And all of a sudden I get it, and it's just like, well, what the hell was that comparison for in the first place? Not to say that it put me down, but it's just kind of like I was a little bit goofy when I thought that I couldn't get it, but when I was able to judo flip that, guess who's riding now in a Tesla? Simple as that. We're well equipped to get the stuff that we want, but more so the stuff that we need, especially in the West. Especially with all these opportunities. You just got to find them. There's an answer for everything. There really is. And even if the answer is in plain view and it's if and when it doesn't get you to that point that you want, you're given a roadmap into how to get it. You're able to develop that roadmap, that mindset where it's like, okay, well, if I do this and do this, get all your ducks in a row, and okay, now I'm on my way towards this answer. And it's all the hard work. From Seneca, from his book Epistles. No man in public life thinks of the many whom he has surpassed. He thinks rather of those by whom he is surpassed. And these men find it less pleasing to see many behind them than annoying to see anyone ahead of them. That is the trouble with every sort of ambition. It does not look back. Which, yeah, it's very true. And again, you're even when it comes to progress, the progress that you've made, no matter what it is, sit down and think about it. Well, where was I a year ago with this? I guarantee you it's going to be different, because you were able to go ahead and do what you had to get where you needed to be. That's your progression. Or, even when it comes down to materials, did I have all this a year ago? Probably not. But I attained it. And I surpassed my past self. rather than worrying about how to surpass other people around me. No. So surpass your own self. Keep the progress going. Keep the progression going. You know, to where you look, at one point, with if the ambition's like that much of a like solid thing, and you sit down and you kind of look around and say, wow, there's not a lot of people around me right now, because you're putting so much time and effort into what needs doing for yourself, for your life, because you're not worried about these comparisons about other people doing whatever have you. Even if they were doing the same thing, you weren't really worried about it. You're just kind of like, nah, I'm gonna keep to the books. I'm gonna keep to my studies, keep to my work, let that shit fly out. It's from Seneca from his book on anger. Are there many who surpass you? Consider how many more are behind and ahead of you. Do you ask me what is your greatest fault? Your bookkeeping is wrong. Where you have paid out, you value highly. Where you have received, low. For everything that you put the hard work in to earn, that's a high value. So the stuff that's just kind of given, it's low value. You didn't put any work to get it. It was just given to you. And this is kind of like, it's not going to hold a coin. It's not going to hold much ground compared to the stuff that you really earned over time. And for me, that's why I always say, earn your keep, because I'm able to value you and what you do a lot more to the others that were just given stuff. Now, if we were all to bring our misfortunes into a common store, so that each person should receive an equal share in the distribution, the majority would be glad to take up their own and depart. So, and this is from Plutarch, another real old philosopher. Letter from his letter to Apollonius. So, if we were all to bring our misfortunes into a common store, so that each person should receive an equal share in the distribution, the majority would be glad to take up their own and depart. So, like, you're not going to take any more misfortunes than you know what to deal with. Everyone has their own misfortunes. Everyone has their own adversity. They have their plate filled, and they know what to do to go ahead and clear that up. Whether it is to judo flip that and be done with it. So, because a lot of people like to go ahead and add a misfortune fucking sandwich, that's stacked higher than, I don't know, any kind of burger that you can think of, Big Mac, triple Whopper, triple Baconator or something. And it doesn't look good because it cripples you. It really does. It's not doing anything for you. 8. Useful comparisons to loss. Another valuable comparison considers how desirable the goods we have would seem if they were absent. The Stoics respond by trying to see old things freshly. So, it's kind of like for what you have, that you're really like kind of attached to. When it's gone through some unfortunate means, yeah, you do feel bad with it. You do feel bad about it. Let's say you have bunch of comics or whatever materials have you. Now they got all water damage. That fucking blows. How are you gonna fix this? You can't. But don't let that take away from the fact that you can always get it again. Or get something better. And even if that comes down to dating, the person that it didn't work out with, and you're put in like a bad headspace, where it's just like, man, how am I gonna find someone as good? And this is the comparison. Don't do it. How am I gonna find someone as good, or if not better than what I got? Like, can I really pull something better? Am I like doomed to just be around like shitty people like this? And don't think that you can't do better, because from that point onward, it's your inherent goal. It's like a subconscious thing to just be better than how you were in that failed relationship. When it wasn't working out, and you're put up against the wall, or you're just dealing with a bunch of horseshit from the other person, and that's even bringing out the worst in you. The other people get to suffer because that shit trickles down. You gotta not even ask yourself, tell yourself honestly, where it's just like, well, it may not be like how I may not find someone like this person in regards to the good times and how they love me and this and that, but that doesn't mean that I can't get better, that I can't find better. I'm not allowed to do it. No, you are allowed to do it, and it will happen, especially when you least expect it. That's probably the best part about it, because you don't really, or rather, you shouldn't need the other person as much as you do when it comes to having them adhere to your love language. Whether it's what's the 5? It's acts of service. Oh boy. Oh man, I'm drawing a blank with the 5 love languages. It's I know the first one is acts of service. Second, there's another one that's physical touch. Um, Words of affirmation, gifts, and quality time. There you go. And for a lot of people, they don't even have that stuff really figured out, which it is definitely on you to like put that up for all to see and make that as a boundary. And then which way, you want your words of affirmation to be, your acts of service to be, your gifts, your quality time, your physical touch, and rank them. The most important out of the least important. 1 being the most, 5 being the least. To help. It helps you when it comes to getting into something new with someone else. That you have your own blueprint as well as your boundaries that should be put in place so that you ain't getting bullshitted ultimately. Now, Marcus Aurelius from his book on meditations. Don't imagine having things that you don't have. Rather, pick the best of the things that you do have and think of how much you would want them if you didn't have them. Even for the stuff that I got, I'm just kind of like, meh, I ain't got the time for it. If I didn't have it, yeah, I probably would want it again, but I'd have to make time for it. Which, for the viewer here, really, really think about it. Don't think about the things that you don't have that you really want more than you need. Look at the stuff that you do have that you do use, and think about if you were to have lost them, would you really want to get them again? Because if so, that kind of puts out a thick layer of importance to that object, to that item, or even to that person. If you are in the thick of in a relationship and things aren't looking so hot, and you start adding like communication to it, you start adding the stuff that matters, presence and communication and honesty, and hopefully both sides are committed to it so that you get that healthy back and forth and you start building up all the way to the top once again, rather than just having it be a one-sided thing and and you go with the quicksand. And to end it with Schopenhauer from his book Our Relation to Ourselves, we should sometimes try to look upon our possessions in the light in which they would appear if we had lost them. And again, it's the same thing. For the stuff that you don't really like look at with a lot of value, where it's just kind of like, like it's whatever. If it's lost, is it really whatever? And yeah, it's it's a question that is seldomly asked to the self. You don't really sit down and ask yourself these things when it'll help you out when you do it. That and helps you live a little bit better once you take out the desire or mitigate the desire for things and people. It'll actually help you think in a clearer state because you're not blinded by the adversity there, the desire. And in which case, I do hope and believe that y'all will get this right. Y'all will apply it to your lives in ways that will be conducive to your better living. And then that's honestly a wrap. That's one more notch on the belt for you to just kind of, to help you figure things out so that there's less trial by fire. Trial by fire is needed, but if you're able to get some perpetuated words of wisdom upon you, some structure, some guidance, even if you were to take it as semi-gospel, like how I instructed before, definitely do that. So you take away the stuff that is being said, you alter it, you make it a part of you, make it a part of your lifestyle, so that so that it works well for you, whoever you are, listening, watching this. I trust and believe that that's exactly what you'll do to help better yourself. And I got you every step of the way. So that's Sunday Stoicism. I'm gonna think about it throughout the week when it comes with maybe I should do a double, maybe not. We'll see what happens, but the goal is still there. To drop all these out, to help where help is needed, and to see y'all flourish to become better people. Because if you're here and you're listening to this, and even if you don't even have to really, listen to me, but if you know that you're trying to, that you deserve better, that you know better, or that you want to know better, you want to be better than that of which society's trying to put on you, and these social norms are trying to put on you, you gotta ask yourself, do I really want to fit in, or was I always born to stand out? Because to me, if you're here, you're listening to this, you're having a hard time trying to maybe try to impress people, this and that. No, fuck that. You come first. Because to me, you're always meant to stand out. And that gets good eyes and bad eyes upon you. Good people and bad people coming your way. Good things and bad things coming your way. But always stay true to yourself. Always be 100% unapologetically you. Your future self will thank you for what your present self is doing. That of which your past self didn't really know much about, but that's okay, because you forgive your past self, you trust your current or present self to build for your future self. Many blessings to you. Until next time.